The following video will teach you how to create the Google Maps schematic layer. The schematic layer is associated with a project. So the first thing to do is we have to click project for which we want to create the schematic. The next step would be to click on the map. If the schematic has never been created before, the default location that Google Maps will show involves the city of Calgary, which is where this model was created. Of course, you have to know where your basin is, where your project is located, and move around the world to the location of the basin. For example, the Bargi Reservoir System is located in India, and we are going to have to find it first. So this is it. This is the Bargi Reservoir. Obviously, these lines cannot be drawn with high precision accuracy, but we can do something that is approximate. What you see on the left side panel is a list of nodes, such as reservoirs and irrigation blocks are free-form shapes, while the junctions are always shown as circles. So let's create a shape that corresponds to this lake. We can blow this up a little more and click on the Bargi reservoir, which is what we see here, and drag it out. Now that we are out, the cursor will change into the little cross, and you can start clicking and dragging the points by following the shape as close as possible. If you need corrections later on, there is a way to introduce additional corrections. For large water bodies, this may be a bit time consuming, but keep in mind this is a one-time job. Every time you create a component, you should click on the Save button. If you forget to save, next time you log on, you will not see it again. Then you'll have to do everything all over. When you come to the end of the visible screen, you can actually move the visible screen while you're editing, and I'm going to display how to do it right now. For example, what we can do here is click on the whole screen for the second time and then drag the whole screen up. Sometimes you may have to click twice. Make sure you always see the cross before you click, and you see where the line has extended. The most difficult drawing you will have is typically the reservoir. Of course, you don't have to do this. You can specify this entire reservoir to look like a basic triangle. It just looks more politically correct if you are showing the existing component with its proper shape and proper location. Again, we are now coming to the point where we want to move the whole figure, and now we're almost done. Once you come to the final point, connect to the existing points, and the final click will actually create the whole figure. Click on the Save button, and you will see the message that the changes have been saved. Now, if you're not happy with some of those details and you want to re-edit them, you can zoom in this figure further, and you can click on the Edit mode. You will now see all your points, and you can click and drag on individual points here, like what I'm doing right now, and form these shapes a bit better. This is a bit of a polishing off effect, but it'll give you more precise representation if this is what you're after, as I'm showing right here. Every time you do this, an intermediate point will also be created in between the 2 points, and you can use it for further reshaping of your object. Let's click on Save again. And now let us create other objects. So here is our Bargy reservoir. We have one channel that comes into the reservoir, and we're going to draw this channel now. This channel starts from a node called Bargy reservoir inflow, which is the easiest one to create. Now, we don't want to have this size, so we can specify the size for the next node as having a diameter of less than 10 kilometers. Let's make it only 1 kilometer. But if we want to change the size of the one that we already created, we can click on the edit mode, and you will notice that the location is determined by moving this whole circle up and down by clicking and dragging on the center of the circle, while the diameter can be changed by clicking on the side point here. Once we're happy with the location, we can click on the Save button. The next channel that we want to create here would be called Bargy Inflow Channel, and this channel starts from this node. We can follow the channel as closely as we can and follow its meanders. Of course, if we don't want to be this fancy, we can just draw a straight line. Again, I didn't finish this properly, so I'm going to improve the ending here by getting this final point to be closer to the reservoir. Click on Save. And one thing you may want to do with channel is you may want to add an arrow at the end of the channel, which is done by right-clicking on the linear object and by clicking on Add Arrow. Again, if you add arrow, after that you should save your changes. We now have one more node here, one more junction node, which is called node 7. We're going to put it somewhere here. It should be approximately the same as the other junction node, so this one seems to be too small. Let's make it a little bigger. Again, we can go to edit mode, and now this circle can be enlarged a little bit. Let's see if we're getting about the same size. Yes, this is about the same size. The right thing to do is to specify the right radius for all of them to be used consistently. So let's click on the Save button. We now have two channels here. One is called Bargy Hydropower and the other one is called Bargy Spillway. Let's create Bargy Hydropower first, because that's the easier one to create. We'll just use the following symbol for hydropower. And we will add the arrow to this channel. We'll save it. And then we'll specify the Bargy Spillway. Again, click and drag into the map and then start drawing the channel along the river reach which is on the map. Once you're done, you can also specify the arrow. In both cases, internally in the model, these are river reaches. They look like parallel river reaches, except that one of them will have a function that converts flow to hydropower. We have one more flow channel called Narmada River at the bottom. So again, click and drag, and this channel will go out of this node. And because this is the most downstream channel in the system, it will not have a downstream node, so we're just going to leave it drawn like this. Add arrow, save mode. We have a few more components to draw. One is called bargy right and one is called bargy left. These are irrigation blocks. Let's create them. We are going to create bargy left first, and we can use just very simple shape. Now if you happen to make a mistake and this happens, you can select it and click on delete. It'll just delete this shape. Again, click, drag out, and then let's go click once, click the second time, click the third time. We're trying to create something that looks like a square. We can polish it off later on. It didn't end up being a perfect square, but let's fix it. Again, edit mode, and just bring this point up a little bit. Maybe bring this one up and this one down just a tiny bit, and then click on save. So this is our bargy left, and our bargy right block is going to be here. If you know the exact layout and area of the irrigation block that you're modeling, you can do the same thing we did with reservoirs. But when this is not known, it's perfectly okay to use squares or some other conventional shape. Click on save, and what we're missing is the connecting canals. So the bargy right canal, we can now just use straight line, but I suggest using at least one point in the middle. The reason for using one point in the middle is that when we click on the option to show the names, which is right here, pardon me, let's finish this off here, then the names will show right in the middle. Click on save. Sometimes if you're not happy with the line because it's not completely straight, you can straighten it up a little bit like this. Click on save again, and let's add an arrow. We'll do the same thing for bargy left canal. Let's start from here, for example, and connect these two blocks with one dot in the middle. Alright, again, didn't end up being a perfectly straight line, but we can fix that. And introduce an arrow and save. Finally, there's one more channel called the return flow channel, which connects bargy irrigation left with this node called node 7, and we can also put an arrow and click on the save button. So we now have all components. If we click on the show all names, you can see the names of your components. Once we start looking at the solution, we can use this show flow option and see the flows or reservoir levels, starting and ending reservoir levels and reservoir evaporation for any simulated time step or simulated periods, such as, for example, wet season or the dry season or the entire year. So this was it for the introduction to the Google Maps interface, and please keep in mind that you always have to save. If you want to access any information back in the original database, the chart will show you the results of the simulated scenarios, and the edit button will take you to the database. As you see, only one reservoir was found in this project with this name. There are no other reservoirs in this project, so only one was selected. But if we had 10 reservoirs here, the one that I clicked on would have been selected here, and I would be immediately able to see its historic levels, its net evaporation stations, any natural flow series if we have inflows, or storage capacity curve, which every reservoir has to have, and which you can see right here. Now you can export this into Excel, and you will see the same information in Excel, or if you want to update this, you can bring an updated information if there's a new survey into the database. But you first have to delete the existing information here. This is not working like Excel where you can copy over. First delete the existing information and then upload the new information. So this was all regarding the Google Maps interface. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will move on to other instructional videos.